Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Juan Pablo. I'm back. Thank you guys again for purchasing this product. I greatly appreciate that. So the topic of discussion for today's video is the hardest labor in the world. This is one of the speeches I've done several times, and I wanted to present this speech to you so that you can have the right mindset. I get it. Mindset is important, Juan Pablo. I get it. You said it many times. Great. So listen in. What's the hardest labor in the world? You might be thinking, I don't know, what is it, being president of the United States? Is it a woman giving labor? What do you mean by that? What's the hardest labor? What's the hardest job? What's the hardest line of work? What do you mean by that question, Juan Pablo? Well, I'm glad you asked. The hardest labor in the world is not being a president. It's not providing labor. It may be hard, I wouldn't know. But the hardest labor in the world is this: mental labor. It's thinking one way consistently despite what's going on around you. It's very difficult to think abundance when you have a mountain of bills on your table. It's very difficult to have the mindset of health when your body is aching and is sore and is sick. It's very difficult to have your mindset on fruitful relationships when your spouse, your significant other is nagging you all the time. You have an estranged relationship with some people in your family. It's very difficult. The hardest labor in the world is mental labor. To think one way consistently despite what's going on in your outer world, despite what's going on in your circumstances. Normally, people bow down to their circumstances. They fall victim. So that's what I mean by bow down. And they have a victim mentality. They say, oh, it wasn't my fault. It was the circumstances that allowed this situation to occur. So therefore, I'm left powerless. But I beg to differ. You should be that person in which you have circumstances bow down to your beliefs. Your belief system should not bow down to your circumstances. If you're a victor, you cannot, in the same mindset, have a victim mentality. You can't be thinking both on abundance as well as on lack. Those two various thoughts can't occupy the same mindset. You can't be a double-minded man. Let that man be unstable and expect to receive nothing from the Lord. It says that in the book of James, right? So where I'm getting at is this: the hardest labor in the world is having your mind fixated on one particular goal. So let's say real estate, for example. You want to be a real estate investor. You want to be financially free and independent and quit your day job. I get it. But you get a letter in the mail from a mortgage company saying, oh, you're denied for a mortgage. What do? Do you say, oh, this doesn't work? Oh, I knew this was going to happen because my credit. Oh, I knew I won't be able to get qualified because I don't have documented income. Or do you say, you know what? Even though I got this denial letter, I'm still going to become a real estate investor anyway. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to let this letter force me to stop in my tracks. But I'm going to continue to move forward and find a way to go over this obstacle, around this obstacle, through this obstacle, under this obstacle. Perhaps I might need to bring in a lender, someone else who has the credit that I lack. Perhaps I need to bring in a partner, someone else who has the documented income that I lack, and so forth. That's the hardest labor in the world. To continue to persist despite the mounting obstacles that stand before a person. Most people, they quit. Most people, they lose focus. And that's the hardest labor. To think on one thing consistently despite what's going on around them. It's very difficult. Imagine being sick and saying, I'm healed. Imagine being broke or poor and saying, I'm wealthy. And seeing a unexpected bill come in the mail when you're supposed to close on a property and you laugh at it. That's the mindset that you need to have. Despite what circumstance comes your way that's contrary to your beliefs, you laugh at the unfavorable circumstance and you become emotionally controlled. That's the hardest labor in the world. Mental labor as well as being emotionally controlled. That's emotional intelligence. And that skill set is required as a real estate investor, because you will soon find out that oftentimes deals may fall through, or a partner may back out last minute, or you get an appraisal that came back not at the purchase price that you wanted it, or not the appraisal value that you wanted it, and you are frustrated, you're angry, you have worry, you have doubt, you have disbelief, you have unbelief, you have anxiety. All of these feelings are detrimental towards your success. Because some of you guys might be familiar with the law of attraction and things of that nature. So basically it's this, right? You attract what you feel, okay? Your feeling is like magnetism. It brings in those things that you think about consistently, okay? So when you have a positive thought and you couple that positive thought with a positive feeling, you attract it. If you do this on a consistent basis, it's not just going to happen overnight. It's not that you just do it once and that's it. Because you probably watched the affirmations in the past video and said, well, I did the affirmation a few times. My life is still the same, Juan Pablo. Nothing happened. This is just a bunch of BS, hocus pocus type stuff. No, you have to do it consistently to the point you believe it. Because as you believe, so will be done unto you. If you believe it, you will receive it. It's not, oh, I got to see it to believe it, Juan Pablo. No, you have to believe it first, and then you'll see it. The inner world produces the outer world, so you need to have that belief in here. In your inner world, meaning your heart, your belief system, your core, your subconscious mind, before you can see it in this physical world. It's that simple. You have to believe it first and foremost. So back to the emotional intelligence. You got to be able to have a positive thought coupled by a positive feeling, and then you'll attract the thing that you want. Now imagine if you had a positive thought, you only thought of it a few times, and then you stop thinking about it. And then you have a negative thought. Oh man, this real estate investor, my competitor, beat me to the punch and took this deal. Oh man, there's never enough deals out there for me. Man, there's no deals in my market. Man, there's this. So then you start thinking about lack. You start thinking about scarcity. You start thinking about competition. And then you're getting angry. You're incorporating those feelings of frustration, anxiety, anger. It's subsiding in here. And guess what happens, my friend? You attract more of the stuff that you really don't want. It happens to people all the time. So that's the hardest labor in the world. To think one way consistently, despite a competitor beating you to a deal, you get a denial letter in the mail from a mortgage company, you're not able to find any deals in your market, a real estate agent doesn't want to work with you, a partner backs out last minute, a tenant destroys your property. All these things happen to me. These are no situations that's unique to a particular real estate investor. They all happen. You expect it to happen, right? But you also expect more abundance. You still keep your mind focused on the one thing that you want, which in my case, and in your case as well, cash flow. So you can be financially free, independent, and live that lifestyle, baby. Earn passively and live passionately, my friend. And you can do it, okay? But that's the hardest labor. So when a situation arises that's contrary to what you really want in life, contrary to your beliefs, watch this video over and over, the affirmations as well, and remember, okay, you know what? I'm going to choose my reaction. Because many people try to pretend like they have no choice in how they responded. No, you do have a choice. You can respond in a good way or a bad way. You don't have to react. You're not an animal in which you have to react instinctually. You are a human being, and you have the mental faculties to decide how you're going to respond to a situation, especially in an unfavorable situation. So if something unfavorable happens, you can think, well, I got denied for a mortgage. You know what? I'm going to take this mortgage letter and I'm going to read it and pretend it says approved. And if it says approved, I have a positive thought. I'm going to also incorporate a positive emotion, because that's what Juan Pablo said, and other books that I read said the same thing. So I'm going to incorporate a positive emotion of thanksgiving, praise, gratitude, joy, love, abundance. I'm going to think of all these emotions. And then you start smiling. You become happy. Even though you got the denial letter, you're not even thinking about it. You're thinking about bigger and better things, and you're feeling about bigger and better things. And guess what? You're going to soon attract bigger and better things. So make sure you keep your eyes on the prize. If you receive anything that's contrary to your belief, you always want to revert back to what you really want and keep your eye on that prize. Stay positive. I cannot stress that enough. So if you're surrounded by people who are negative, then that means you may have to change your associations. So you might say, hey, well, the person I'm sleeping next to, bruh, is negative. Well, my friend, it starts with you. You have to be that positive person. It will be difficult at first, but in due time, they will begin to see the change in you, and they'll start reacting, aka responding to you differently as well. So you got to make sure you stay positive. And if you can't avoid that association, a person who's negative, who's draining, mentally draining, then you need to use your spare time associating with people who are positive. That's what I said in previous videos. You have to network. You have to network with people in which you want to become like, so that you have that association, so that their positivity, their abundance mindset, especially their movers and shakers, you can't just have a ton of property and be a negative person. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that they're going to be a saint and not have any problems. I'm not saying that. But they got to have some sort of business mindset and positive mindset, because in starting your own business with no safety net, you got to have faith. You gotta have great self-esteem as well. So you got to be positive. I never really met a successful real estate investor who was just a sleazebag. Not to say there's none out there, don't get me wrong, but you will find people who are abundant, okay? And you want to associate with those people. And no one likes lip service, guys. So if you say you're going to do it, do it. So don't be talking to your family and friends and saying, oh yeah, I'm going to be a real estate investor, and then when the going gets tough, you stop. And they say, well, what happened? What happened? You said you was going to do this. Why didn't you do it? So in that situation, you may not want to tell them your inner goals, because you know what happened with Joseph in the Bible. He told his family and friends his goals, and guess what happened? His brothers beat him up, put him in a ditch, and sold him into slavery. They were jealous of his goals. So that's a powerful lesson. You may not want to be sharing with your goals and aspirations to family and friends who are negative. You may want to just share your aspirations and your goals to your accountability partners who are positive. Okay? It makes sense, right? Even though they may love you and they wish the best for you, they may tell you things that are contrary to your beliefs. Oh, don't get into real estate because it's risky. They're saying that because they love you and they don't want to see you fail. But they could be negative because they don't want you to take any type of risk, because they may be highly risk averse and you're not. You're more so you're more so freedom minded and you want to have abundance, and they just want you to be safe and secure. But those are opposite ends of the spectrum: security and freedom. Where's the place? I got this from Robert Kiyosaki. Where's the place that has the maximum security? It's called a prison. Locked up, they won't let me out. That's also called a 9-to-5 too. A day job. All right, let me keep going. And real estate investing is hard, but just keep in mind, nothing worth having comes easy. I got that from a commenter one time on YouTube, talking about this guy, talking about me, Juan Pablo. This guy makes it seem like real estate investing is that easy. It ain't that as easy as it's cracked up to be. And I'm like, no, duh. You're just speaking to the choir. I never said it was easy. It is simple. I'll teach you the process, and the process is very simple to follow. But it's not easy because it's going to require you having mental fortitude and you being creative, despite how many obstacles come in your way. Okay, and just keep in mind, guys, simply you having the desire to become a successful real estate investor is proof enough you're capable of doing it. So you can do it. Just keep that in mind. You have the desire. You're capable. God is a good God. He's abundant. He would not put a desire within you to become a real estate investor if you weren't capable of obtaining it. I'd just be plain old wrong, wouldn't it? So if you have a desire, guess what? You should be happy. You should have a smile on your face and say, you know what? Simply me having a desire is proof enough I'm capable of doing it. And I highly recommend you read the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you notice, when I speak, I quote a lot of stuff, whether it's from the Bible, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, For Our Work Week. There's a lot of books I pull quotations out of. And it's not like I just read these books yesterday, right? Right before this video. No, I've been reading these books over and over and over throughout my adult life so that it becomes ingrained within me. So again, the mental labor is the hardest labor in the world. So I'll go over all these affirmations, these quotations from successful people that I aspire to become like Robert Kiyosaki, for example. And I'll do it over and over and over to brainwash myself for success, to the point I quote it. It's now my default setting. So when something undesirable happens, that mental labor kicks in. Oh, I'm default to what so-and-so said in the Bible, or what so-and-so said in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or so-and-so said in Think and Grow Rich. And that's where I want you to become. In order to be strong mentally, you have to exercise this thing called your brain daily. Alright? So if you want to continue to exert maximum strength for hard labor, right? If you're doing hard labor, let's say out here, it's Pittsburgh, PA in my background. So let's say you're doing hard labor on the bridge, you have to dig and so forth. You want to train those muscles so that you can be able to withstand all that pressure. It makes you stronger, right? And you can do more workload, make more money. So likewise, if you want to have a stronger workload in regard to the things that's going on in your head, the stresses, because that's what lifting weights is, to put stress on the muscle, right? You want to be able to exercise this muscle called your brain daily. Read. Okay, and affirmations as well. And then watch the webinar Total Life Prosperity in the next video, and I'll talk a good deal of information on this topic as well. Alright guys, so that concludes today's video. Thanks for watching, and as always, this is to your success. Earn passively and live passionately, baby. You see it on a t-shirt.